Oh, hey. Hey, glad you're here. Listen, I wanted to talk to you about the next time we have horrible stories with Ryan, because this next one's a lot darker than the usual ones, and it's going to be a little more serious. I think maybe me and you should just talk this time. So, why don't you come with me? I got a good spot for us, okay? Here, follow me this way. Come on. All right, this feels like a better place for me to tell you this story. Let me tell you a story about two people named Brian and Lisa, and the experience that I got to have not being a good enough counselor. So, for some reason, I found myself both being a chemical dependency counseling assistant and being on the needle, still doing fentanyl mixed with cocaine. And pretty much everybody knew it. But I guess because people saw me struggling with them and the fact that I wasn't perfect, I ended up really connecting with some people, and in the end, almost all of us from that circle did get sober in one way or another. But when Brian and Lisa came in, they'd already been to rehabs before. She was in her early 50s, he was too. She'd already had kids, came from a clean suburban background. He was a pure gangster. He didn't look like it. He looked like a scrawny, kind of crazy looking white boy. I mean, please show his picture here. I mean, if you meet this guy in the street, you're just going to be like, you're either going to avoid him or ask him if he needs some help. And once you get to know him, you realize he's actually a genius. He was literally an inventor, and you can see stuff that he made. He's promotional videos on YouTube right now, I think.
Ward's Way Shovel. Standard spade shovels can cause injury and extended work times. The Ward's Way shovel provides proper leverage regardless of the shovel's position. The shovel has a ratcheting mechanism at the connection between the spade section and the handle.
So I saw them come into my class the first time, and I noticed them because while I was teaching, Brian said something that stuck out to me in the class. It was something along the lines of, if I say I'm a fire truck, I'm a fire truck, I'm a fire truck every day, it's not like words are magic. I might not come in one day as a physical fire truck, but you might find me wearing red a whole lot more often. And you might see me run around here making siren noises a lot more often. So what you say and what you think about and what you talk about does influence you, although it might not magically make something happen. It makes something happen in you. And I guess that stuck with me. I went up to him after the class, and he thanked me and said it was so brilliant. And I thanked him and said what he contributed was brilliant. And I could tell that Lisa was happy we were talking, and she was kind of amazed. She told me afterwards he'd never really made the kind of connection that you need to have at a rehab to truly give it a shot and get sober. Somehow, all three of us ended up going to the same methadone clinic and figuring it out together. So we started riding to the methadone clinic together. One day, as I'm getting a ride from them, Lisa gets pulled over. She goes to jail that day, right then. for some old warrant that she had, some bench warrant. I don't even remember exactly what it was. But here's the thing. If you get sent to jail while you're on methadone, you're no longer on methadone. At least back then. They did not give her anything in there, and she came off of it cold turkey in the Montgomery County Jail, and then they sent her to the Nova for 30 days before they let her come back. And this is a common thing. You will get forced into a form of sobriety if you go through the system in that way, but you can't force sobriety into someone's heart. You might force it into their hands. You might keep their hands from ever touching a drug, but you can't keep their heart from wanting one. And the second that they get real freedom, you find out how deep that recovery actually goes or doesn't go. Brian knew she was getting cold turkey treatment in there, and he wrote her every single day in a journal that he gave to her when she finally got out. And I remember her coming back to the class so vividly because she actually wrote a poem, and it said, the title of it was, "How do you know when you're ready to be ready?" What she was saying was she wasn't ready to be sober, but she wanted to want to be sober. Does that make sense? Sometimes it's like we don't know why we want the things we want. We can see that they destroy us, but we don't know how to not desire them so strongly that we throw caution to the wind. How do you know when you're ready to be ready? Well, she wasn't ready because they were getting ready to move them into their own place. Brian got completely sober while she was there. He did it all for her. They were doing great. And the night that they stayed in the house, they slept downstairs together in one of the houses that we had on Salem. He stepped out to go get them drinks with their pizza. And somehow someone sold her some drug. We don't know how. But she managed to get high while he was gone, and she lied about it to him. And that night, he noticed that she was snoring a little different than usual, but it wasn't snoring. She was suffocating. And when he woke up the next morning, she was frozen stiff in his arms, cold, and he knew the second he woke up that she was dead. He left the house crying. I remember the cops coming in. My friend told me that he sat there with her body and listened to the paramedics make jokes about her appearance. The look on her face that was still frozen from that night. And once she died, Brian lost all reason to live. He just saw no point. I think he told me, I never had any dream of the future that didn't directly include her. So eventually, I managed to get a hold of him because he just bolted out of the house, went straight to drug dealers, relapsed immediately, got high out of his mind. He was on a bender for a week. By the time I tracked him down, he was really far strung out, but I was still using at the time. So I invited him, I talked to him, I invited him over and talked to him all night long. And we ended up getting high together, and I don't think I let him out of my sight after that until he ended up going to jail. Somehow, we got the idea that we were going to move in together with this girl that we barely knew. And this girl that we barely knew was really wild, and she had like cerebral palsy, and she was very like suppressed by everyone around her. She had like kids and a husband in another state that she had run away from. She was like from Colorado or something, and she didn't even get high, but she saw us getting high and she wanted to join in. So she was like, I'll just do cocaine. And she made us shoot her up with cocaine like all the time. She overdosed twice. We had to call the police, all kinds of stuff. And when you're on those kinds of drugs and you're not used to being on those kinds of drugs that can really change your personality like that. And her and Brian ended up having some kind of fight, which was crazy because they were both the nicest people in the world until they weren't. And he ended up in such a fight with her that she said, get out of here in the middle of December. And all of a sudden, he doesn't have a place to stay. And so he's begging her 2 nights later to let him come in off the street. He hasn't eaten. He looks starving. He looks terrible, honestly. And I don't know what's wrong with him, but he hasn't got high for a few days. He's withdrawing like crazy and he's begging her, please let me come back inside. She says, if you don't get off this property, I'll fucking kill you. And she goes inside and grabs a butcher knife. And I kid you not, I watched this girl limp out. I mean, she's completely pigeon-toed, so she can only walk extremely slow. I watched in slow motion as she walked up to him, and with every ounce of her own strength, she stabbed him in the chest with a kitchen knife so hard that the knife bent against his breastplate. She couldn't actually pierce his breastplate, but I saw immediately the blood shoot out, stain his shirt, and he did not budge. And he just looked dead at her in the eye and said, okay, you stabbed me. Can I please come inside now? Around that time, the police pulled in and they somehow saw what had happened and arrested him because he had, I don't know, a warrant. Now, we don't know the next part of this because no one of it was actually there, but from the best that we can gather from what people have seen and asked around, we know that he was withdrawing so bad in the jail that he couldn't eat anything, and eventually they found him covered in his own vomit, unconscious in his cell. He was sent to a hospital, Miami Valley Hospital. They intubated him and said, we have to take you in for surgery right now. Something is wrong inside you and we don't know exactly what it is. We have to take you in for surgery right now. He agreed. They intubated him, took him in, and when they opened him up, his bowels burst inside of him on the table because he had an ulcer. He had developed an ulcer that was so big, it was essentially and it ruptured. When they opened him up, he went toxic from that moment and died right there on the table. They said he was 84 pounds when he died. The doctor said it was essentially starvation that ultimately killed him. I didn't hear about what had happened until a couple days later when someone in the middle of my class called him by his nickname, Lefty, and said that he had died in jail. I fell down to my knees and cried right then because this man who was a king died like an absolute dog, like an animal in jail. And no one will ever know how great he really was or how great he could have been because the worst parts of him took him away before he could really contribute what he had left to give. And it was the same thing with Lisa. It's got to be the 2 most pointless deaths gotten the chance to be close to and witness. It makes me realize sometimes how pointless things can be when you look at them in the big picture. I miss Brian.